Good morning, champions. I hope you had a great weekend. I want to go over your 11th day of your AMI packet for your math. So here are the problems for the 11th day. On the first one, it wants you to look at this number line right over here, and it wants you to determine which one of these numbers could be represented by the letter B here. Notice it's between 2 and 3. On number 2, it wants you to place these numbers in order from least to greatest, so that means smallest to largest. You're going to have to take into account that some of these are negative and some are positive. And then on number 3, you need to write a sentence to compare the 2 points shown on the number line. So you're just comparing the two numbers, the negative 2 and 7 tenths and 4 and 5 tenths. All right, so here's question 1. Question 1 says, which of the following numbers could be B? Explain your reasoning for each. Here's your sentence stem you can use. Blank could be B because, and you can explain your answer. Okay, all this right here is just a picture that I found on Google when I did an image search for number line with fractions. So this kind of gives you an idea of what eights would look like from 0 to 1, from 0 to 2. These are going to be the same between 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, 4 and 5, except right here between like 1 and 2, there's going to be a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1. Same thing here, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. But if they're between 2 and 3, there's going to be a 2 here. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, so on and so forth. So that's just something to think about. But these fractions are going to be in order between this, whatever this number here is, and whatever this number here is. So you have eighths, sixths, fourths, thirds, and you have halves. So that's how the numbers are in order from least to greatest in fractions. I want to talk to you about how to change an improper into a proper fraction. I want you to pause the video for just a minute after I ask this question. Which one of these numbers up here is an improper fraction? And I'll tell you, there's more than one. Which one of these numbers up here is an improper fraction? Go ahead and pause the video for just a minute and then see if you can figure it out and then hit the play button and see if you got it right. Okay, so 5 halves and 25 tenths are going to be your two improper fractions. So I want to talk to you about how we can turn improper fractions into proper fractions. I'm going to do this one, and then I'm also going to do a couple more just to show you how to do these. So we have 5 halves and we have 10 fourths. This is the one that you have on your assignment, which is right there. I'm going to let you do this one on your own, and then we're going to do 10 fourths. Here's how you do it. So I just say, okay, if I have 5 and my denominator's 2, we have more than enough. This is, if I had 2 up here, I would have 100%, which would just equal 1. So if I had this would equal 1 because that would be 1 whole. But I have this. So what I need to do is I need to say 5 minus 2. Okay? And that's going to leave me with 3. That means that this amount right here represents 1 whole. Okay? So now I can say 3 minus 2 equals 1. So that is another 1 whole. So this is 1 whole. This is another 1 whole. So if I have 2 1 wholes, that means I have 2 wholes. Okay? And this is what's left over. Now, I don't have to subtract it again because if I do 1 minus 2, I'm going to wind up with a negative number. So that's not going to work. So what we're left with is 2 and 1/2. See, my denominator is not going to change. So now we've got this as a mixed number. We've got it as a mixed number now. So this is what this would be in more of a proper fraction or a mixed number. Okay. Another way I like to think about this is how many fours can I pull out of 10? Because that's really what I'm doing here. How many twos can I pull out? How many twos can I pull out of 5? Well, I know that 4 times 2 is 8, and I know 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, so I can't pull 3 out, but I know that I can pull 2 out. I can pull 2 4s out. So 2, and if I pull 2 4s out, what am I going to be left with up here? If I say 10 minus 4 equals 6, and then 6 minus 4, see, I'm pulling a 1 4 out, and then I'm pulling another 4 out. That's going to leave me with 2. So that's going to leave me with 2 in my numerator. And remember, I still have 4 in my denominator. Now this one, I can simplify it a little bit more because 2 and 4 both have the 2 in common. So this and this are the same thing. 2 and 2/4 is the same as 2 and 1/2. I'm just reducing this down. This is correct. This is more correct. Okay, that's how you can turn a mixed number into a fraction. So notice I got 2.5 on each one of those. If you want to see one more, let's do one more real quick. How about we do 25? Actually, let's do something different because you're already going to do 25 here in a second. Let's do 9. Let's do 9/2. Okay, 9/2. So how many 2's can I pull out of 9? Well, I know that if I do 2 times 2, that's 4. 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 times 4 is 8. So I know that I can pull out 4 2's. Okay, and if I pull out 4 2's, I'm really pulling out 8. What am I left with? 1. So that means 4 and 1/2. 4 and 1/2. This is my mixed number that I could use to represent 9/2. Okay, all right, and I gave you some common, I also over here, I gave you, let's go back over here quick. I also wanted to show you how to turn a fraction into a decimal. You can turn any one of these fractions into decimals if it will help you. You simply do this. Here's your example. 1/4, numerator is the 1, and the 4 is the denominator. All you have to do is you need to divide the numerator divided by the denominator. It's at the bottom. If I haven't put my mouse over it, that thing's going to come up. So numerator divided by the denominator, 1 divided by 4 equals 0.25, and I'll show you. So 1 divided by 4 equals 0.25. And so what I wanted to show you on this page is we can turn each one of these fractions here into a decimal by just dividing the numerator divided by the denominator. So I'm going to pull my calculator up over the top of this, and I want to show you. 1 divided by 2, okay. 1 divided by 4, 1 divided by 3, and that's how I'm turning each one of these fractions into a decimal. So if you like working with decimals better and you don't want to turn these improper fractions into mixed numbers, you just want to go straight to your decimal because that's what you're more comfortable with, by all means, please do that. Here is also an example of, so if I have 1.5, this would be what 1.5 could look like as a fraction, and this would also be what it would look like as a mixed number. These are all equivalent. 1/2, 3/2, 1 and 1/2. These are all the same number. Same thing here. 1 and 25/100, 1.25 is equal to 5/4 is equal to 1 and 1/4. All of these are the same thing. They're the same thing. They're just represented differently. So if you feel more comfortable changing these fractions into decimals to put these in order, I'm sorry, not to put these in order, but to determine what could be equal, please do that. Please do that. I'm going to tell you right now, there's one of these that absolutely cannot be, one of these cannot be a solution here, and it's this one right here. This one cannot be a solution for B, and the reason is because 2/5, if you have 2/5, that means it's less than 1. See how all these have a lower number on the top than the bottom number? Just like this one, a lower number on the top than the bottom. That means that this number does not have a hole. It has not reached a hole yet. All of these have a hole with them, maybe more than one hole. Okay, this is the only one that cannot be the answer. Question 2. This one wants you to place the numbers in order from least to greatest. Remember, if we're going from least to greatest and we have negative numbers, negative has to be first. Has to be first. It's the smallest. And remember, the bigger the number with a negative sign, the smaller it is. So think about it in terms of temperature. -3 is colder than -2.5. Okay? -3 is colder than -3/4. -3 is colder than -3/8. Okay? But see how small this number is, 1/4? So if we said if it was 1/4 of 1 degree, so it's not even 1 degree cold outside. This is still warmer than -3 because this is on the negative side of the 0. This is on the positive side of the 0. So anything with the positive sign is going to be bigger than any number with a negative sign. So keep that in mind. I've given you a starting place here. -3 is your smallest number here. Okay, I'm telling you, and I'm being honest. I'm not trying to trick you. The -3 is your smallest number. 16/5 is your largest number. I simply just turned 16/5 into a decimal so I could compare it to the other decimals that I have up here. Like I said, if you want to turn all these numbers into decimals because that's an easier way for you to work with the numbers, by all means, please do it. 16 divided by 5, I turned that into a decimal, 3.2 or 3 and 2/10. So 3 and 2/10. The closest one to 3 and 2/10 is 3 and 1/10. So that means 16/5 has to be the largest. Has to be the largest. Okay, our last question. Write a sentence to compare the 2 points shown on the number line. All you're doing is you're making a comparison between this number, -2 and 7/10, and 4 and 5/10. Remember, anything to the left of the 0 that's negative, so the negative sign, is smaller. Anything to the right of the 0 is larger. So this is larger, this is smaller. Here's some things that you can talk about when you're explaining this. Talk about which is smaller and which is larger. Or you could talk about how do you know blank is smaller than blank. Talk about how the number line helps you to know that one is smaller than the other or one is bigger than the other. You could use an example to explain it like temperature or money. Okay, so just think about all those things when we worked with the number line. And here is I've kept the fraction from the fraction list from least to greatest on each one of these slides to help you. And if you want to look it up, literally all I did was I went to Google and I typed number line with fractions. And then I hit images and I scrolled down and there it was right there. There's another one. This one even has 16ths on it. There's all kinds of them. Okay. Do a Google search. Use the internet to help you out. If you have questions on your work today, please let me know. Email me, make a comment on the post on YouTube or on Google Classroom. I hope these tools have helped you today, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one.